Marla Maples, the former wife of Donald Trump, has long been a public figure with a story that has captivated the public's attention for years. Her marriage to one of the world's most controversial figures, Donald Trump, placed her in the spotlight, and when they divorced, she became somewhat of a forgotten name, at least in the eyes of the media. But lately, Marla has re-emerged, and her responses to tough questions during a recent high-profile interview left the audience completely stunned. What was supposed to be a simple conversation about her life, career, and experiences quickly turned into a jaw-dropping moment when Marla faced questions that dug deep into her personal life, her relationship with Donald Trump, and the struggles that came with being in the public eye. Marla's candid yet shocking responses to the probing questions revealed a side of her that no one had seen before, a side that was raw, vulnerable, and incredibly powerful. The interview started innocently enough, with Marla discussing her life after her marriage to Donald Trump. She spoke about her daughter, Tiffany Trump, whom she had with Trump, and how the relationship between the two had evolved over the years. She talked about raising Tiffany in the public eye and the difficulties that came with being the ex-wife of one of the most famous men in the world. For years, the media had painted a picture of Marla as the woman who had been overshadowed by Trump's career, someone who had to take a backseat to his rise to political power and his global influence. But what came next would completely change that narrative. As the interview progressed, the questions became more pointed. The interviewer asked about her relationship with Donald Trump post-divorce, especially with the backdrop of his presidency and the media's constant scrutiny of his personal life. Marla, who had kept a relatively low profile for many years, didn't hold back. She admitted that being married to Trump had been incredibly challenging, but also that she had been completely misunderstood by the public. "I don't think people realize what it was really like," Marla said, her voice steady, but filled with emotion. Being married to someone like him, with the constant media attention, the public expectations, the pressure to maintain a perfect image, it was exhausting. And then, to have everything fall apart so publicly, it was like my whole life was being put under a microscope. But then, the interviewer asked the question that would change the course of the conversation. "Do you think people still view you as just Donald Trump's ex-wife?" That was the question that hit Marla hard. Her answer was one that left the entire audience in stunned silence. "No," she said, pausing for a long moment. "I don't think they do anymore, and I don't think they ever will." The audience waited in anticipation as Marla continued, her words now deliberate, each one carefully chosen. "But for a long time, that was who I was. I wasn't seen as Marla Maples, the woman with her own story. I was just the ex-wife of a man who didn't need me anymore." The room was silent. Marla's vulnerability was palpable, but she wasn't done yet. The interviewer pressed further, asking about her relationship with Donald Trump in light of his political career and especially his time in office. What followed was a shocking revelation that no one could have predicted. "I've seen a lot of things behind the scenes that the public doesn't know about," Marla said quietly. "I've seen things that made me question my decision to ever be involved with him, but I also saw the good in him, the man who is a father, a businessman, and someone who truly believes he can change the world. It's not as black and white as the media makes it look. There's more to the story than just what people see on television." This was a side of Marla that no one had seen before. The woman who had long been painted as the victim, the one who had been left behind in Trump's rise to power, was now speaking with a voice of clarity and power that was undeniable. She was no longer just the ex-wife. She was Marla Maples, a woman with her own story, her own voice, and her own truth. But the shock didn't stop there. As the interview went on, the questions grew even more personal. One question in particular hit home for Marla, and it left the audience speechless. "Do you ever regret your time with Donald Trump? Would you change anything about your life with him?" Marla took a deep breath before answering. "No," she said, her eyes locking with the interviewer's. "I don't regret it. I don't think I would change anything. It taught me a lot about myself, about love, about resilience. People think it was all about fame and fortune, but it wasn't. It was about surviving in a world that's constantly watching, judging, and demanding more of you than you can give. And I came out stronger because of it. It was clear that Marla had undergone a transformation. She was no longer the woman who had once been overshadowed by her ex-husband's public life. She had found her own voice, her own purpose, and she wasn't afraid to share it with the world. The final shocking moment of the interview came when Marla addressed the rumors about her relationship with Donald Trump after his presidency. Speculation had been rampant about whether they had reconciled, whether they were still in touch, and whether there was any hope for a reunion. Marla's response was both surprising and revealing. "We've talked, and I think we've both grown," she said, looking directly into the camera. "But reconciliation isn't always about getting back together. It's about understanding the past and finding peace with it. And I've found that peace." The interview ended with the audience in stunned silence. Marla Maples had just shared a side of herself that no one had ever seen before, a side that was real, raw, and powerful. She had not only answered tough questions, but she had also reclaimed her narrative. No longer defined by her past relationship with Donald Trump, she was now standing tall as Marla Maples, a woman with her own voice, her own story, and a future that was uniquely hers. As the world continues to discuss the interview, it's clear that Marla Maples is no longer just a footnote in Donald Trump's story. She's taken control of her own life and is showing the world that she's far more than just a figure in someone else's story. Her response to the tough questions left everyone speechless, and her story is far from over. What do you think about Marla Maples' powerful revelations? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates on this incredible journey of self-discovery and empowerment.